Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and with me, one of my frequent review collabing buddies, Anchorman.
Hello.
Yes guys, we are of course continuing on reviewing Star Wars The Clone Wars. Now we come to the third season, and yeah, with the first two seasons of The Clone Wars, the show had a bit of a rocky start and all that, and with what all me and Anchorman had to say about the first two seasons, but it was definitely up to, say, Season 3, when things were really cooking. The next batch of arcs and solo episodes, and some episodes in Season 3 that were in connection with some of the episodes from the first two seasons. Yeah, and of course, as we know, somewhere in Season 3, later on, there was a new design look for a few of the characters, and because there was a little bit of a time jump, and what we expected, and what was to come for Season 3, and just things were just looking great and fantastic. It was looking better, just all that. Yeah. And for me, because I'll go ahead and start first, because it's tough for me to say which would be some of my favorite seasons of the Clone Wars. And we've talked about this before when we reviewed the first two seasons. But point being is that, I feel as though that's, for me, Season 3 would probably be in my top list of favorite seasons of the Clone Wars. I'm just saying. Of course, I remember, and because I had been following and watching the Clone Wars ever since it began, I remember, the days when watching Season 3 and always tuning in to whenever an episode of Season 3 would happen, and all these interesting things going on throughout the season. Just, man, I tell ya, those were the days. Overall, Season 3, it's amazing how it turned out with its episodes and how far we've come to with these characters and them being developed, especially Ahsoka, and some surprises here and there. Just need I go on. And of course, the more, we'll talk about Season 3 when we break it down. But, okay, Anchorman, now turning over to you, what are the first things you have to say about Season 3 of The Clone Wars?
I like it. It's a good, solid season. I like how they continue the Clone Wars, where they change the appearance of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka to get updated looks, and we get a bunch of good arcs with the Citadel arc, the Savage Opress arc, and the stuff with Ventress is really good, and there's just I think this is an overall solid third season for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, while I'm thinking of it, because I mentioned it, where would you view Season 3? Some of your favorite seasons of the Clone Wars, where would you view this at?
I feel like it would be one of them.
Okay. Alright, so there's that. There you go. Alright, but with the first things we've had to say about Season 3 of the Clone Wars done and out of the way, now, of course, to dive in / break down the third season itself. So, of course, starting with the first two episodes that center on the clones, and which they are directly tied into, say, most prominently, the Rookies episode from Season 1. Yeah. And not to mention that the first episode of Season 3, and with its timeline, it actually takes place, after, say, the Clone Wars movie happened. So, yeah. Alright, so, episodes 1 and 2, again, centering on the clones. Clone Cadets and ARC Troopers. Description / the story on Episode 1, Clone Cadets. Unless they want to fail their training, the clones of Domino Squad must learn to work together during their training on Kamino. And description / the story for ARC Troopers. General Grievous and Asajj Ventress combine forces in an attack on Kamino. Okay, So, Anchorman, let's start with you, as before. What are the first things you have to say about the first two episodes that start off season 3? And not to mention that, actually, sometimes this has happened when Clone Wars aired, where sometimes there would be, like, 2 or 3 episodes that would air the same day. So in this case, yeah, the first 2 episodes of season 3 of the Clone Wars, they aired on the same day, September 17th of 2010. But again, Anchorman, yeah, the first things you have to say about the first 2 episodes.
I like this Camino arc of the show. Even though Domino Squad is technically part of season 1 in chronological order, but I think it's a good introduction to the clones we would like Echo, Heavy, Fives. And I like how they're showing the clone training. It shows the deepness and the connections the clones have to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ARC Trooper episode, I think that's probably one of my favorite episodes, where we see Anakin go up against Ventress, Obi-Wan against Grievous on Camino. I thought it was a lot of fun, for sure.
Yeah. Also, anything to say, because of the mentioning of those clones, Clone 99, yeah, I believe that's his name. Anything to say on him?
I think he's a good clone. He definitely died a good hero, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and that's for me, because, yeah, the first 2 episodes of Season 3, yeah, a great way to start off the 3rd season, and as you said, and as I said, because with them and linked, most prominently the first episode with these characters and with Domino Squad, the episode of Rookies, etc. And just to see, like, what it's like for the clones on Camino, young cadets, like, obviously in the case of, say, Heavy, Echo, and Fives, because they would be, like, say, in their, like, 20s or something, because just getting started. And it's really cool, like, when seeing them in combat, like, and training, of course, and their own type of, battle droids that they use for simulation, and not to mention they've got 2 bounty hunters that are brought in to help them out, be trained and such. Brick, whom is voiced by Larry Brandenburg, and Les, voiced by good old Nolan North. But not only them two, but also joining in and being with the clones is Jedi Master Shaak Ti. Yeah. Whom, of course, as we know, is the same species as Ahsoka, Tokoro Ta and all that. And Shaak Ti being voiced by the talented voice actress Tasia Valenza. Yeah. It was great to see Shaak Ti make her debut in the Clone Wars. And when looking at the behind the scenes, because, yeah, the budget that they had and the best they can do with, like, say, her robe and fabric, I think overall how it looked in the final results of Shaak Ti's design and clothing looked pretty good. And with Miss Valenza's, amazing voice acting for Shaak Ti, it's great. It's definitely great. And those 2 bounty hunters, Brick and Ellis, they were pretty interesting. They were quite a handful in how they interacted with some of the clones, being aggressive and all that. I mean, bounty hunters being bounty hunters sometimes, but yeah. And also, Lama Su. Yeah, this is where Lama Su makes his debut in the Clone Wars, yeah. And Lama Su in the Clone Wars, and then when it would come up to, say, The Bad Batch, Lama Su being voiced by another talented voice actor, Bob Bergen. Yep. Who most prominently is the primary voice of Porky Pig. And of course with D. Bradley Baker, D. Bradley Baker never fails at the many different times, like he voices the clones, giving them their own personality, and what say you, Anchorman? Because what say you on the 2 bounty hunters and Shaak Ti? The characters I've mentioned, and with them, making their appearance and debut in the Clone Wars.
I like Shaak Ti. Her depth is always confusing to me, but I do like how they gave her a role on Camino.
Yep.
In the show.
Yeah, you're not alone, because it is confusing, and it's just like, can't Star Wars just make up their minds on what's canon for Shaak Ti? Not that I'm complaining. I'm just saying, just do something. Golly, if she would be spared and having survived Order 66, okay, but yeah. And anything to say on those two bounty hunters in this episode?
Aren't they the ones that don't trust the clones?
Well, yeah, that too. And they're just not, they're being, of course, very harsh on the clones, and like I said, bounty hunters being bounty hunters sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially one of them, because, like, having a brain head and such, and cool design. But yeah, and even, like, say, in that first episode, it's not looking that great, even when, like, yeah, it was heavy just giving Clone 99 a hard time. And Clone 99 was an interesting character because, yeah, with what I have to say about him, being this defective clone and the way he turned out and just being frail and just, like, having, like, a hump, just, yeah. But he does come in handy, of course. He's still a clone. He's still a brother to all the other clones. Yeah. Yeah, just overall, I mean, like, that first episode was great, and of course, in the case of ARC Troopers, because it was really awesome to see that, that the Separatists, they launch an attack on the Clone Troopers' home planet, Kamino. Even, like, of course, Rex and Cody, because in that episode, Rex, Cody, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, them appearing, and even Rex and Cody, they're not pleased to see that the Separatists are going to attack their home world, and of course, they'll stop at nothing to defend, their home planet. And with all the Clone Troopers, like, even those that are not in the war yet, they're not with the Grand Republic Army, alongside with their brothers, it's great to see that even they join in, and, even as Cody and Rex specifically established that, we're all brothers, same blood, same heart, which is true. And with Ventress and General Grievous, to see them, collaborating, and of course they're a part of the Separatists, but still, we've not seen them work together. They would arrive in different locations of those buildings on Kamino, and because with what you said, Anchorman, because with most prominently Ventress and Anakin having a lightsaber duel, and Grievous and Obi-Wan having a lightsaber duel. There you go. And of course, on account that, we've obviously established this before, where, even Dave Filoni, because holding back on just wanting to have Anakin and Grievous, like, to see them have a lightsaber duel, but that could not happen, because, they don't meet until the start of Revenge of the Sith, so, But all worked out fine with them not crossing paths, of course. Gotta stick with the canon, and what's written. But, and with them, Grievous and Ventress, like, they're stealing some, clone supplies and all that, and just the fight sequences, everything that's going on, even Clone 99 joining in, and like you said, Anchorman, because he died like a hero, helping out his brothers, just, it was very sad for him to, be killed. Even, like, the very young clone cadets, and whom, of course, being voiced by Daniel Logan, whom is young Boba Fett, for them to join in, and to use weapons and all that, just, That was another great episode, and also have to point this out, it's very interesting and disturbing, I guess, where, Ventress killing some of the clones, even kissing one of them on the cheek, and, do you have any comment on that, Anchorman?
That was probably the brutalest clone death I've seen, one of them. It's sad to see a clone get killed by Ventress like that.
And because it's Ventress we're talking about, there you go, But just, anything else you've got to say on the first two episodes?
I do like how these clones get recruited to be ARC Troopers, the Fives and Echo, and that's what sets them up to be later in the show as ARC Troopers.
Of course. Yep, that's great to see. Even when one of the ARC Troopers was there and all that, that was great. Yep, great to see that up to this episode they would go to the next level of the rank and command of Clone Troopers. Good for them. But just overall, the first two episodes of Season 3 of Clone Wars were great. Clone Cadets and ARC Troopers. Great way to start off the third season. And next, we come to Episode 3, which being titled Supply Lines, Description/The Story. Neetko Jedi Master Ama Gondai and his men are trapped on the beside world of Ryloth. And not only is that going on, but we have some stuff going on with, say, Jar Jar Binks and Bail Organa. And once again, starting with you, Anchorman, what are the first things you have to say about the third episode, Supply Lines?
I like this episode a lot because it gave us one of my favorite obscure Jedi, Amagun Di, where he dies a hero. I think he was easily one of my favorite of the Jedi in this show.
That's good. Yeah. And anything to say, like, with what goes on with Bail Organa and Jar Jar?
It was cool to see Bail, and again, I thought Jar Jar sounded different since they couldn't get Ahmed Best, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's Ahmed Best. No, Ahmed Best
Oh,
did.
it is?
Yeah,
I must be thinking of a different episode then.
Well, yeah, because, like, I even established this when we did season 1, where he only did one episode voicing Jar Jar, but then Phil Lamar came in to voice Jar Jar for the other episodes in season 1 that had Jar Jar, but by season 3, yeah, Ahmed Best came back, and from there on, voicing Jar Jar. So, it was great to see that, Ahmed Best, he rightfully so returned. And as for me, because, like, yeah, with the two things that are going on between, the Neatgo Jedi himself and with Bail Organa and Jar Jar, not to mention because, like, basically Bail Organa, with what's going on with Bail Organa and Jar Jar, they tried to convince the neutral king, Katunko, from Torteria, to send aid to the Twi'leks of Ryloth. So they have to do that, and also on account they have to keep, Ladot distracted and such, and whom was a part of the Trade Federation. And just like, with what's going on with Bail Organa and Jar Jar being Jar Jar, of course, even when at one point, to send in a ship to aid the Twi'leks, Jar Jar has to keep them distracted, especially Ladot. That part where he's, like, taking all the dishes and cups, stacking them, it's understandable with what's going on right there, so, yeah. And with, because Master Di, whom being voiced by Robin Atkin Downs, because with how much we get of that Neatgo Jedi, he was really cool and badass, and like you said, Anchorman, he dies heroic when at the very end they're trying their damnedest to fight off the battle droids and so on, and just in time as the supply ships arrive. Yep. Yeah, overall, that was a good episode. Also, Count Dooku, of course, appearing. Corey Burton. Yeah, just overall, Supply Lines, the third episode of Season 3 was good. Definitely. Okay, so, moving on, now we come to the fourth episode, which being Sphere of Influence. In this episode, and reading the description / the story, when newly elected chairman, Papanoda's daughters are kidnapped, Senator Chuchi and Ahsoka Tano investigate. Because, in this episode, they would be captured, and of course, with Senator Chuchi and Ahsoka know each other very well. Even when Ahsoka informed Senator Amidala and Skywalker about this, it would lead to Ahsoka meeting with Senator Chuchi and to secretly try and find Chuchi's sisters. But, not to mention that the chairman and one of the others, like, joining in to basically investigate this as well. But Anchorman, will now come to you. What are the first things you have to say about the fourth episode, Sphere of Influence?
I don't remember this episode too well, but it was like where Ahsoka teaches those students or something on Mandalore.
No, that's a little later. No, this is the one with him and with her and Senator Chuchi, and also where Greedo appears.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was surprised to see Greedo. I wasn't expecting him to be in this show, since this is before he gets shot by Han Solo.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he did make a cameo that was cut from Phantom Menace. So, And this is true, because where young Anakin, young Greedo get into a brawl. Because in that deleted scene, and just to quickly mention, because if any of you, of course, remember, where Greedo thinks that, Anakin cheated, because on account of pod racing. Of course he didn't, but it's Greedo's opinion, so even Qui-Gon telling Anakin that fighting won't make a difference and all that, it won't clear it up, yeah. So, that was our first taste, and by seeing young Greedo, but right here where we see a little older Greedo, like teenage and all that, yeah. And because, with Greedo, of course, being on Tatooine still, and what would come next for poor Greedo in the events of A New Hope, we know, of course, yeah. But, just, this episode overall, because with what's going on, each characters are trying to search for the two captured daughters of the chairman. Also, the chairman, whom we see in animation form, keep in mind that he was in live action. He briefly appears in Revenge of the Sith. He's played by the father of Star Wars himself, George Lucas, as a cameo. Him and alongside with one of his daughters, whom, plays one of the daughters. And Corey Burton, who voices the chairman, I recall reading where he gave, the chairman, taking inspiration from Orson Welles' voice? Yeah, incorporating, some Orson Welles for the chairman's voice, which is really cool. Also, Lieutenant Tan Devo making a quick appearance, because obviously with him popping in for a brief moment on account of, hopefully trying to find the chairman's daughters, Eon Pamidia, the son of the chairman, whom being voiced by Seth Green. And apparently, because it's him in linked with the Separatists, kind of, because with what specifically happens in this episode. But also it's really cool where because Ahsoka and Senator Chuchi, they make their way to one of the Trade Federation starships and space station, where because at one point Ahsoka would use the Jedi mind trick, which she's just getting started and all that, but eventually, because when finding one of the captured daughters, and the chairman and his son would find the other, just overall, the fourth episode of season 3 was good, And also, this being the first episode of the third season where we have Ahsoka in it most of the time. Okay, we now come to the fifth episode, which actually is part of a two-parter. Well, and because in linked with with the whole Mandalore thing. So, Episode 5, Corruption, Description / the Story. When Padme visits Mandalore on a diplomatic mission, she finds herself investigating an outbreak of a mysterious illness at a school with Duchess Satine. So it's really cool to see where, we get to have something where Padme and Duchess cross paths, and they've known each other before, and to see them work together and with what they get themselves into is great. And this being the first episode of the third season where we get something of Satine. All right, but now turning back to you, Anchorman, because what are the first things you have to say about Episode 5, Corruption?
This is where we get this sinister stuff in Mandalore, where it's revealed that they're poisoning food towards the kids, and that's what leads them to Padme and Satine to team up. I thought their team up was really good.
Yep. The whole thing of, it's like the drinks that are being poisoned and making the kids ill. And with them investigating and when they would discover, someone in Mandalore is linked with this, and we don't know just yet, but there are some rogue guards, and also a Mugen captain that shows up, because him and his crew showing up with the supplies and all that, with them linked with this, And again, just to see Padme and Satine work together, it's just great. And of course, Prime Minister Almec being in there. Little do we realize, even Padme and Satine, that what Almec is really doing. And, well, to go ahead and mention it, he is technically linked with what starts off in this episode. And when they would find out and just, destroy the evidence and, just burn it down as Satine requested, and to, of course, save the children. Yeah, and also, like, some of the other characters, like, yeah, a Mugen crew member that was voiced by Greg Baldwin, Corey Burton voicing Minister of Ontario. Yeah, so that was a good episode where it has Padme and Satine together. Yeah, and what would happen next in the following episode where it would be suggested to send in a Jedi to help further investigate this. Yep. Okay, and that's the next episode we come to, the Academy. So, description / the story on the Academy. Ahsoka is assigned to tutor a leadership academy, if I said that right, on Mandalore. And Duchess Satine's nephew, Corgi, and 3 of his classmates discover a conspiracy involving the black market and the planet's food supplies. Yep. All right, and once again, Anchorman, start with you. What are the first things you have to say about the Academy?
I thought it was cool to see Ahsoka team up with those kids to figure out what's going on. I had this little, mini rant where a YouTuber was like saying the Clone Wars was bad or something because they used like certain technology to investigate who was behind it, and they're saying, "Oh, why don't they use this to figure out who Darth Sidious is?" And I'm like, how would they know? They don't even know what he looks like because he's secret. So
yeah,
I just hate it. I just hate those nitpicks because I still enjoy the Clone Wars, if you know what I mean.
Of course, and I do too. And let's keep in mind, of course, on the account of Sidious, that he's very secret. He manages to be very secret until the very end. So, because he's Palpatine. So there you go, yeah. Palpatine / Darth Sidious. But for me, this episode was great and really cool, and with how far Ahsoka has coming by this point, and where it's up to here that she gets to teach a class and all that. And by the way, because Cadet Corky, being voiced by Whit Flint, yeah, I think I got his first name right, whom I know best, and maybe some of you do too. He was the kid from the first Jurassic Park film where he made that comment about the Velociraptor, like a 6-foot turkey. That was him. He was that kid. And where Dr. Alan Grant, shows him like a dinosaur fossil, like, a bone and all that, like a tooth, or, it's a claw, basically. So it's really cool, because, that, with him voicing Corgi, and, from Corgi and the other students, they were good characters, and with them getting their spotlight, and we would see Corgi a little later on as the show would proceed, and until we get there, of course. But with them investigating privately, and then when Ahsoka would join in and discover more evidence, and even when they would try to take this to Satine, well, she had already been taken in captive and such. And then, of course, Prime Minister Almec, whom turns out to be a traitor, and being responsible for what's been going on since the last episode. Also, not to mention that Ahsoka is without her lightsaber, because, to respect, how the people are on Mandalore, of course, But, I mean, even without a lightsaber, Ahsoka manages to still kick butt, so, and anything else you've got to say about this episode, Anchorman, by any chance?
There's a theory that the Satine's nephew is the son of Obi-Wan. Do you think that's true or no?
Do I even have to really answer that? Because I think you can tell on how I'm responding to this. Just,
No.
Okay, but anything else you've got to say about this episode?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, what about, say, when, it's revealed that Prime Minister Almec is a flat-out traitor?
Of course, since we always knew he was a traitor.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look like someone that could be fully trusted, now did he? Yeah, exactly. And also on account of the other guy from Season 2, so...
Vizsla?
Well, him and the other guy, so, on that voyage. in that episode where they're on the voyage. Yeah, him who brought that that led that robotic spider to come on. So, anyways. But yeah, those three that would be traitors and such. They were supposedly once loyal to Mandalore, but nope, not at all. But yeah, just overall, the sixth episode of Season 3 of Clone Wars, The Academy, that was great. Now, we come to Episode 7, and this would probably be one of my favorite episodes of the season. Yeah, Assassin. So, description / the story on Assassin. Ahsoka receives visions about Aurra Sing attempting to assassinate Padme Amidala and decides to accompany the Senator on a peace mission to Alderaan. Yeah. Once again, Anchorman, we'll start with you. What say you on the 7th episode, Assassin?
I like this episode. We see Aurra Sing, and I like Ahsoka trying to find a way to prevent Padme's getting shot. And I was thinking to myself, back when I was a kid, I was thinking, did Padme actually get shot or not in this episode? Because I knew she wasn't going to die because of Revenge of the Sith, but I was wondering if she would be okay in this episode for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly how you felt when you brought this up when we did season 2, where you weren't like, you were wondering if Padme was going to survive when she got poisoned, in one of the early episodes of season 2. So
yeah.
But it's obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, granted, we're gonna have those moments sometimes, even as a kid, as you just said. I get it. But still, I mean, of course, for any of us who saw Revenge of the Sith before Clone Wars, we knew. So on. But as for me, because, yeah, like I said, this being one of my favorite episodes of this season, and, yeah, that's great, because, Ahsoka starting to have visions that just happen, out of nowhere, and where she visions seeing Aurra Sing, and whom at first believed to have been killed, because with what happened to her in the last episode of Season 2, the crash of the Slave One, but turned out not to be the case, and now Aurra Sing is back, and this time, and with what Ahsoka is visioning with seeing Aurra Sing, is that, yeah, apparently she visions seeing Aurra Sing attempting to assassinate and kill Padme. And with her meeting with Padme, not to mention that Anakin went off on a mission alone, and yeah, Ahsoka not joining in. And yeah, with Ahsoka meeting with Padme, and the more visions that Ahsoka has, even when she would share it with Yoda and Padme, yeah, well, it would lead to say where Padme has to go to Alderaan to make a speech, and Ahsoka willing to tag along with the Senator, and yeah, Padme appreciating this, and, extra security, because, of course, knowing Padme Amidala, her life is at risk many times, and all that, and the rank of Senator she is, that's for sure. But yeah, and Ahsoka still having visions and all that, but also, there's some good bonding between Padme and Ahsoka. I like that. Then, of course, when it comes to Alderaan, and yeah, this is one of the first few times that we do see Alderaan. Well, I mean, of course, we saw it at the very end of Revenge of the Sith, but, to see more of Alderaan and, the main city that's on Alderaan and where Bail Organa resides, and, of course, yeah, Bail Organa appearing in this episode, and yeah, could not forget to acknowledge, yeah, Phil Lamar once again voicing Organa. Well, it doesn't take too long, when, say, Ahsoka starting to sense the presence of Aurra Sing, and with Ahsoka attempting to reach to the location of Aurra Sing, she's in, say, the air vents and all that. Well, yeah, because with Ahsoka using the Force to push Aurra, Aurra still made her shot, but it only hits Padme by the shoulder. So at least she survives from that, because obviously Aurra was going to aim for the chest, the heart. And yeah, even in Ahsoka's visions, we do see where someone did hire Aurra Sing to assassinate Padme. And we see a little glimpse of him and hear a little bit of his voice, kill her. I'm pretty sure when I first saw this, maybe I knew, but yeah. as if I could really remember. But what say you, Anchorman? Like, the first time you watched this, did you by any chance immediately recognized whom it was in one of Ahsoka's visions, whom it was that hired Aurra Sing, like, saw a glimpse of him and hearing a little bit of his voice? Like, yeah, what say you?
I don't know. Was it Cad Bane originally?
Nope. Okay, so you don't remember, but we'll get to him in just a moment. So now that Ahsoka, now that Padme, being wounded and such, what next? I mean, she's supposed to give another speech, but this time, using one of those droids to, fill in for Padme, fill in to, being there in person. Well, the voice of Padme's coming through that droid, but Aurra Sing knows that, yeah, she's not in the room, and yeah, she would go directly to where Padme is, and Ahsoka, sensing Aurra not in the conference room, but yeah, where Padme's giving her speech and all that, and yeah, ultimately, both Ahsoka and Padme would defeat Aurra, and it's good to see for Padme. She had a weapon with her, and tasing / shocking, Aurra Sing, stunning her, that is. Setting the gun to stun. Also, Captain Typho being in there as well. Good to see him. And Captain Typho being voiced by James Mathis III. Yeah. But ultimately, Aurra Sing is brought in and captured. And yeah, once again, Aurra Sing being voiced by Jamie King. And once they return to Coruscant, well, it all comes down to whom it was that hired Aurra Sing. And Ahsoka trying to sense it, and, with what she describes, bizarre laughter, the color purple. And Padme, she figures it out. She knows exactly whom it is, and with the few descriptions that Ahsoka could see. Because, yeah, someone that, that Padme really pissed off, like in the events of the Clone Wars movie. And that, of course, being Zero. Yes, so Anakin and Ahsoka, and yeah, good thing I'm, now you remember Anchorman, because it's Zero the Hutt. Anakin and Ahsoka paying a little visit to Zero, and the first time and only time that Ahsoka and Zero have an interaction, and where they get to him that, yeah, because he's the one that was responsible for hiring Aurra Sing to assassinate Padme, and just, yeah, Zero just unhappy that, it was her doing for getting him in prison and all that. And I just love Ahsoka's, response to Zero, like, you've just earned yourself an extended vacation and all that. That was great. But yeah, just the 7th episode of Season 3 was a good one. Yeah, any last things you have to say about the 7th episode, Anchorman?
I think I'm good.
Okay, yeah. But also anything you've got to say on Zero's appearance, and it turns out that, yeah, it is him that hired Aurra Sing to try to assassinate Padme.
It made sense it would be her.
Yep.
Him.
Of course, and again, follow up to what happened in the events of the Clone Wars film, so yeah. Okay, now moving on to the 8th episode, yes, and we get more of Zero, technically. He's only mentioned, but the 8th episode actually being a prequel to the last episode of Season 1, and yes, because this is where we get more of Cad Bane. Cad Bane appearing in Season 3 in the 8th episode, which being titled Evil Plans. Description / the story. C-3PO and R2-D2 are tasked to get some Jogan fruit for a reception honoring Runan Senator Aang. But the droids are targeted by bounty hunter Cad Bane, who wants to extract information regarding the Senate from their databanks. Once again, turning over to you, Anchorman, what are the first things you have to say about Episode 8?
This episode's okay. I mean, I like R2 and 3PO, but yeah, I didn't really feel too much went on in this episode. It was just R2 and 3PO messing around, and then on Coruscant, then they get captured, and then they get their minds wiped from the incident, and then they just kind of go back to whatever they started or whatever.
Yeah, and that would not be the first. That would not be the first and only time where That would not, let me rephrase, that would not be the last time where, yeah, C-3PO and R2-D2 had their memories wiped, because we would know what would happen to them very later on in Star Wars, so, and you know what, if we did talk about this before when we reviewed the first 2 seasons or not, but yeah, you know, the episodes that center on C-3PO and R2-D2, any of them that happen throughout the Clone Wars, because not being the best well-received, like, what's wrong with those episodes? Like, come on, this is R2 and 3PO we're talking about. Like, it doesn't hurt to, like, have something in Clone Wars centering on any droids, and in this case, R2 and 3PO. I mean, what say you on that, Anchorman?
They're not my favorite episodes of the show, but I enjoy R2 and 3PO.
Of course, because this is R2 and 3PO we're talking about, so yeah. But, yeah, as for me, because, like, yeah, Evil Plans, again, this taking place before the events of what Cad Bane would do in the last episode of Season 1, where, yeah, he and some bounty hunters, they would break in and infiltrate, the Senate in order to capture Zero, which they successfully do. But before they do that, because, yeah, they've got to get the information, to, you know how to specifically break in and to hold everyone hostage in the Galactic Senate. And by the way, because this taking place after the events of the Holocron arc, which that was technically our first introduction to Cad Bane. And yeah, because with how Cad Bane managed to break into the Jedi Temple to steal a holocron, yeah, and this time, for him to manage to infiltrate and to hold the Senate hostage, I tell ya. But yeah, because with this party that's going on account of the Runan senator that Padme knows, of course, well, this fruitcake that they have is missing, yeah, some Jogan fruit that goes on top of the cake. So it's up to R2 and 3PO to get that Jogan fruit. And yeah, because with Cad Bane and Toto 360 that does appear in this, because, you know, it's, even if Dave Filoni established this, I don't know, because, yeah, we remember that Toto got blown up in the first episode of the Holocron arc, but yeah, now he's back, and of course, Seth Green once again voicing him, but as if it matters, you know. But like I said, if Dave Filoni or anybody established this, well, that's good. And if you know about this, you know, you can leave a comment, by all means, appreciate it. But Toto 360, like, tricking 3PO and R2 to basically go to this droid spa, and they would capture 3PO, because they don't make much of R2, and yeah, just to most prominently have R2 get distracted. Also, they would lose the Jogan fruit. Luckily, the many times they lost the Jogan fruit, it slips out of their hands, nobody else, you know, took the Jogan fruit. It just remained there, and with them eventually taking it back to Padme's place. You know, the droid spa, and of course watching the behind the scenes, like, it was really cool to see that in the world of Star Wars, there's a droid spa for any droid. Just like, yeah, the way it's designed. I mean, it's basically like instead of cars getting washed, it's droids getting washed and all that, you know. And obviously, yeah, they took some inspiration clearly from any of those car washes. Yeah. Any comment from you, Anchorman, on that droid spa?
That's where R2 goes in there, and then he looks completely different. He kind of looks more like how he does in the movies.
That is true, because
he looks more shiny.
He does. Yeah, because, you know, the thing is, in, like, most of the Star Wars films, he was always, like, shiny and clean, but, yeah. But, like, say in the Clone Wars, not really, but, yeah. But anything else you've got to say about that droid spa? Like, don't you think it was pretty interesting? Like, yeah, we get to see that in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, even to Dave Filoni, he found it amusing. And it kind of is, where you got R2-D2 having a relaxing time. He's in paradise with the droid spa. While 3PO, poor 3PO, he's getting tortured and electrocuted. and yeah, because on account where they have to gain information on account of the Senate. However, they're not finding anything from C-3PO, and that's when, yeah, they realize that, yeah, they have to get the astromech, which of course being R2. So eventually, and when R2's done in the droid spa, they would get R2. And yeah, this time they have the information. And not long after that, well, they finished with R2, they drop off the two droids, they wipe out their memories, even Toto360, he comments, thanks for the memories. And yeah, they don't remember anything that's happened, nor say when R2 went to the droid spa. And yeah, with them picking up the jar of Juggen fruit, Anakin's getting very impatient and worried, and he's not pleased, and, a bit mad at 3PO, but ultimately, it all turned out fine, because they arrived just in time for the Juggen fruit, and by this point, the cake was finished, so, yeah. But not only that, and where 3PO did a magnificent job, where now that Cad Bane has the information, and in order to, get a Zero out of prison, yeah, because he would deliver this to Jabba the Hutt, because, yeah, Jabba the Hutt, whom we did see a little early on, not to mention, for one last time, his son, Rada, or as Ahsoka nicknamed him, Stinky, yeah, he made one more appearance in the Clone Wars, and at that time, that was it. But hey, seeing Rada again in The Mandalorian Grogu. But actually, that was not the first time that we would have seen Rada return in something Star Wars, because I don't know how many of you would remember this, but in the case of, say, Star Wars Detours, yeah, the canceled, locked away Star Wars comedy animated show, we were supposedly going to have Rada appear, and he had, even in the trailers, he's there, where he has, a green hairdo and such, because, assuming that, he's in his teenage years, but yeah, so we would have seen Rada appear in Star Wars Detours, but as of now, officially, yeah, in the case of The Mandalorian Grogu. So there you go. But back on point with this episode, yeah. Cad Bane delivering the information to Jabba, and they give him his pay, and, well, this is where, for the first time, technically, Jabba would get in contact with his fellow Hutts, yeah, the Hutt family, and we've already seen other Hutts before, but yeah, to see more Hutts and for the Hutt species to expand, yeah, these batch of Hutts were really cool, having a really cool design to one of them, yeah, and some of them being modeled after Hollywood stars, most prominently. Two of them, one of them most prominently being modeled after Marlon Brando, and how he looked specifically as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. But also, the other one that I'm thinking of, inspired after, say, Peter Lorre. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And if you guys know the rest on, the Hutts and with their designs, yeah. Even Gardula. Gardula, of course, is in there, whom we first saw Gardula the Hutt in The Phantom Menace, and whom Gardula the Hutt once had Anakin and Shmi as her slaves, but, at some point, and according to young Anakin, she lost a bet with Watto. So yeah, now Shmi and Anakin in Watto's hands. So yeah. What say you, Anchorman, on seeing, more of these Hutts and to see the extended Hutt family linked in with Jabba?
It was cool seeing Jabba's family and Rada.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, do you have I don't suppose you have a specific favorite of those Hutts,
Not really. Just Jabba or the Jedi Hutt from the Legends timeline.
Yes, that's right, because keep in mind, guys, with how much you are familiar with Star Wars Legends, there was at one point a Jedi Hutt, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. But yeah, so the Hutt's explaining about, Zero and, because on account of whom to rescue Zero. And yeah, that's when Cad Bane steps in, because Jabba still needed him to do some extra work and such, to hire him still. So yeah, and that, of course, would lead into, again, the last episode of Season 1. Yep. Also, because the other characters to mention that were in this episode, SND1, and being voiced by Angelique Perrin and TC70, Nitka Ferdman, and also Shoekeeper Droid, voiced by D. Bradley Baker, a Rabbit Droid, voiced by David Accord. Because, yeah, those Rabbit Droids, because we saw them, like, in the kitchen placing those jogging fruits. And once that was finished, they all went, yay! So, anyways. And also the Baker Droid being voiced by Duff Goldman. So, yeah. But, just, yeah, overall, Evil Plans, the 8th episode of Season 3, that was another decent one. And if any of you enjoyed it, because, you know... And, yeah, following Evil Plans, but, again, the last episode of Season 1, because this takes place after the events of when Cad Bane and the Bounty Hunters, you know, retrieved and rescued Zero from prison. Yep. Episode 9. Yeah, the 9 fingers. Hunt for Zero. Description / the story. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Quinlan Vos are assigned to retrieve Zero, the Hutt, after his escape from prison, but Zero is instantly put on trial by the 5 Hutt families of Nal Hutta, where his only ally may be an old lover. Now, once again, turning over to you, Anchorman, because what are the first things you have to say about Hunt for Zero?
I like this episode a lot because we get Quinlan Vos. He's a major part of the Legends timeline, but he's easily the best part of this episode for sure. I wish we did get more of him in this show, but we were supposed to with Dark Disciple, but this episode was definitely a good one for sure.
Mm-hmm. And anything else you've got to say about this episode?
I like Cad Bane's fight with Obi-Wan and Vos. I thought that was really well done.
Mm-hmm. Also, we also get our first introduction in Clone Wars of Cy Snoodles. Like, what say on that?
She's like in Return of the Jedi.
Yep, that's her.
Yeah, I was surprised we see her in the episode. I wasn't expecting her to kill Zero.
Nope, I don't think any of us were at that time. But yeah, for me, because like, yeah, I concur that this was a really good episode, and you enjoyed it, as you said, Anchorman. Yeah, because with what happens to Zero now, standing on trial, you know, on account of the 5 Hutt families, yeah, and it's really cool that we, for the first time, see Nal Hutta, the home of the Hutts, basically, and where they officially reside at. Yeah, even when, say, yeah, Quinlan Vos steps in, and technically, because, you know, with what more we get of Quinlan Vos, like, he briefly appeared in the background in, say, The Phantom Menace, if you, by any chance, would recall, Anchorman. And yes, because Quinlan Vos was supposed to appear once again in, say, the Clone Wars, yeah, because of one of the canceled arcs of the later seasons of the Clone Wars, when, yeah, Clone Wars ultimately got canceled, and where, supposedly, like, yeah, Quinlan and Ventress, they would fall in love, and, yeah, because when it came to, say, Tales of the Underworld, we would once again see Quinlan Vos when he's the one that carries Ventress's body, so, yeah. But yeah, for Quinlan Vos to make his official debut in Clone Wars was great. And yeah, it was George that suggested on bringing in Quinlan Vos. And Quinlan Vos being voiced by Al Rodrigo. Yeah, with what Al Rodrigo brings to the voice performance of Quinlan Vos, you know, Quinlan Vos's personality, the voice he's got, just really good. And even, like, say, Quinlan, like, being a handful for Obi-Wan, but at the same time, Quinlan Vos being a very loyal one with the Force, and when helping out Obi-Wan. Just Obi-Wan just not thrilled to be teaming up and working alongside with Quinlan, but he does come in handy, of course, yep, for this assignment. And yeah, with Cy Snoodles' appearance, and Snoodles being voiced by Ventress herself, Nika Ferdman, yeah, because I don't think... Yeah, at first, when I watched this episode, I had no full knowledge that it was the same character. Yeah. But just, like, yeah, to see Cy Snoodles before the events of Return of the Jedi, because of the Jedi Rock song, you know, it's great. Also, the song number that she has in this episode, I knew, of course, right away, and when I first saw this episode, when it aired, that, yeah, it was, like, it was a parody of the opening song to Temple of Doom. You all would know this, too, so yeah. That was great, of course. And when it turns out that, yeah, Cy Snootles and Zero, they had a relationship, and they hadn't seen each other in a long time, because apparently, yeah, Zero abandoned Snootles, but yeah, Snootles would break free Zero, and even by the time when, say, Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan got there, Zero had already left. Also, it was really cool that we saw the Gamorrean guards. Yeah, this was the first time we saw the Gamorrean guards in the Clone Wars. And because, like, yeah, they were totally absent. Not appearing at all, like, say, in Jabba's palace. Because, yeah, them having a prominent part in Return of the Jedi. Not only them, but even, say, Bib Fortuna. And, you know, because when we would see Bib Fortuna in the world of Star Wars animation, and in the case of the animation style of Clone Wars, it would be, say, Bad Batch. Well, you know, I would assume, of course, that, yeah, judging by the timeline of Clone Wars, like, what, Bib Fortuna hadn't been, you know, brought in by Jabba or something like that to be his right-hand man, I guess, like, yeah. But yeah, just, it was really cool eventually when we saw Bib Fortuna appear. But, yeah, so, and with what else goes on in this episode, because, yeah, again, with Obi-Wan and Quinlan, like, chasing after Zero, even Cad Bane and Todo 360, they're on the tail as well. And to see more parts of the Hutt planet, and where at one point Zero would pay a visit to his mother, which being named Mama the Hutt, and Angelica Perrin would voice Mama Hutt. Just, yeah. Anything you've got to say, Anchorman? Like, what say you on Mama the Hutt?
So Jabba's mom.
Zero's mom.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I would have to see what
Well,
she looks like or whatever.
Alright, but just overall for me, because, you know, Mama the Hutt was an interesting character, because this huge, big Hutt, and, just golly, and her place being a dump, that's for sure. But it's a nice little reunion between mother and son, and, also, to acknowledge this, because, this one alien creature that Mama the Hutt has, like, say, it's a pile of these that are stacked on top of her head, which I guess it kind of looks like it's like a tall crown for her or something. I don't know. Even one of the members of the 5 Hutt families has one as a hairpiece. Toops. Yeah, if you know about the Toops, they're pretty interesting creatures. Like, you know, that suck on to stuff. Like, you know. And also, like, yeah, because, like, with Mama the Hutt's place being a dump and Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan showing up, Quinlan does not hesitate to break in and to try to locate Zero, like, breaking down the door with his lightsaber. Even, like, Quinlan, he does not like the stench of Mama the Hutt's place. Like, as he says, like, it smells like someone died in here. It must be that horrible. And with the information they get from Mama the Hutt where Zero went, and Cad Bane's still following, well, because seeing Zero and Cy Snootles make their way to this planet where, yeah, because with it mentioned of Zero's father having died and his grave and all that. Also, some information that that is with Zero's father's grave and all that, which, you know, Cy Snootles would retrieve, and yeah, where, as was already brought up, because, yeah, who'd have thought that we would see Zero get killed? Yep, and by Cy Snootles. Because, again, after Cy Snootles was not happy with Zero leaving her a while ago, just, yeah. But, yep, that's the end and demise of Zero, and, well, Cy Snootles, she retreated, Cad Bane and Todo showing up, and then Obi-Wan and Quinlan showing up. And yeah, because, you know, Cad Bane makes it very clear that, you know, it wasn't his doing, killing Zero. But of course, yeah, that fight between Cad Bane, Obi-Wan, and Quinlan Vos was great. And as you said, Anchorman, also, a quick moment where Cad Bane, you know, snatches Quinlan's lightsaber, and I love the laugh he delivers, and like, yeah, he's got a lightsaber in his hands, yeah, and when he electrocutes Obi-Wan, he uses a flamethrower, yeah, that was a pretty awesome fight, and, well, ultimately, they lost Zero, but also lost Cad Bane. And the last line that Obi-Wan delivers in this episode, like, I never really liked working with you. Just, yeah, with what he says to Quinlan, it's amusing. And at the very end, yeah, because Sy Snootles delivering, you know, what she gives to Jabba. And yeah, obviously from there on, Sy Snootles would work with Jabba, being a entertainer / performer, as we would see in Return of the Jedi. Yeah. But still, overall, that episode was pretty good. Yep, with what the 9th episode had to offer, and rounding things off with what's going on with Zero the Hutt, and he met his demise. Yeah. And any last things you have to say about episode 9, Anchorman?
It's good to see Quinlan Vos.
Indeed. Definitely Quinlan Vos being one of the highlights, for sure. And also, great to see Sy Snootles make her debut in the Clone Wars. Yeah. All right, now we come to episode 10, and that being Heroes on Both Sides. Description / the story. Padme visits her old mentor, Mina Bonteri, if I got the full name right, who has chosen the side of the Separatists. Yeah, because she's a Separatist. But is urging for peace talks. But the banking clan and several corrupt senators conspire against the infaltality. Yeah. If I said that right, yeah. Now, with what I said early on, there would be a redesign at some point further in the 3rd season. Starting with Anakin and Ahsoka, we would see Obi-Wan a little later with his new design. And again, because there's a time jump here. Yeah. I, of course, remember when watching the 9th episode and a sneak preview for episode 10, yeah, the first time I saw the new look and design for Ahsoka, then Anakin, then Obi-Wan, you know, because I'm sure for most of us at that time, we'd gotten used to how they looked in the first 2 seasons, but by this point, yeah. And, of course, obviously, it didn't take us too long to really get a kick out of their new looks and designs, yeah. And, yeah, because their new looks and designs for season 3, and from there on, from this season to season 6, fingers, that was great. I mean, what say you, Anchorman, like, how'd you first feel about the new look and designs for Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan, and so on?
I like them a lot. This is probably my favorite 3 designs of the characters. I think it suits them really well.
Of course. And also, like, in the case of Obi-Wan and Anakin, it's like slowly but surely getting to where, you know, they'll have their specific wardrobes and hairdos when it comes up to Revenge of the Sith, which that, of course, we most prominently see in Season 7, but until we get there, so, yeah. And where, yeah, it's like right up to here where Anakin's starting to let his hair grow some, and Obi-Wan just a little bit, yeah. But yeah, and with Ahsoka, with how much she's grown, and with her head and all that, that's really cool. And we don't see it in this episode, but it's a little later, and yeah, where we see Ahsoka have a lightsaber upgrade. But yeah, until we get there. But yeah, anything you've got? What are continuing with you, Anchorman? Because like, yeah, coming back to you, what are the first things? Yeah, you have to say about the 10th episode.
This is the one where Ahsoka meets Lux, I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought that was a good episode where we see Ahsoka learn who the different separatists are that are not the war criminals like Dooku or Grievous or Ventress.
Exactly. And they're not really all that bad in the case of Padme's friend. So, but that's right, because Lux, whom would first appear in Clone Wars, but yeah, and also, like, the fact that Ahsoka spends some time with Padme where Ahsoka is being taught being taught from Padme about politics and such, the politics of Star Wars, and where Ahsoka would learn about a friend of Padme's whom is a separatist. And with how Ahsoka first feels and views about the separatists, even when she did ask Mina when they go to the planet where Mina resides at, like, if the separatists are the one that started the war. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. And also, like, with that going on, because, yeah, Ladot and the other members of the Separatists, yeah, one of them, of course, from the banking clan, with how they feel about this, and, you know, they are in linked with Count Dooku, of course, like, in order for this to stop, prevent it from happening, with peace and all that. And yeah, the other characters like Mos Amida being voiced by Stephen Stanton, Nix Card being voiced by Corey Burton. Yeah, the other two members of the Senate. And also, yeah, because with the voice of Mina being voiced by the talented voice actress herself, Kath Soucie. Because, yeah, Kath Soucie having done a lot of voice acting, and I most prominently knew her best as the voice of Kanga from the Winnie the Pooh materials, like those Winnie the Pooh films of Disney Toon Studios, but amongst other great voice acting stuff that Kath Soucie has done, for sure. And with what she brings to Mina Bonteri in this episode is great. And when we're introduced to her son, Lux, yep, because Lux being voiced by Jason Spisak, if I got his last name right, and it doesn't take too long for Lux and Ahsoka to kind of like lock eyes and get to know one another, and, you know, Lux is not all that bad, and on account that, you know, he's linked with his mother and the whole thing of the Separatists, and for Padme and Ahsoka secretly there, and with them witnessing the whole thing of the Separatists, and with the peace and all that. But not only that, because Count Dooku, having talked with Ladot, Mos Amid, and Nix Card, well, Dooku has ordered Grievous to send in some droids to cause mayhem in Coruscant, and right when, like, say, the votes are gonna go in with the whole thing of peace and such, where, yeah, preventing that from happening, and with this bombing that would happen in Coruscant towards the end of the episode, it would be labeled and believed that it was on account of the Separatists, it was their doing. And again, this having it prevent what was going to happen, such just like, yeah, it's really interesting. And those droids and how they would form into, like, you know, muscular droids and all that, breaking in and destroying, like, the power system and all that provides the power for most of Coruscant, the specific location of the Coruscant planet where the Senate is and all that. Yeah. Man, I tell you, because even, like, say, according to Ladot, Coruscant had not been attacked for 1,000 years and all that. Makes you wonder, like, what the last attack was. Well, not to mention that in the Micro Clone Wars series, as we know, and which technically, yeah, it is canon, and what would happen up to the events of Revenge of the Sith, where Coruscant would be attacked, because, yeah, the whole thing of Chancellor Palpatine having been captured. So, yeah. Just, like, overall, like, this episode was another good one. It was great to see the new designs of Anakin and Ahsoka, and the whole thing of, like, the politics, the Separatists, a friend of Ahsoka's, and whom, yeah, because it would be established that Mina sadly got executed. Yeah, she did get killed. But luckily, her son Lux did survive. I can only imagine what he must have gone through when that happened. Also, yeah, because Phil Lamar, again, voicing Bail Organa in this episode, also voicing another character, Goom Sam, if I got that right, yeah. But just overall, episode 10, Heroes on Both Sides, that was another good one, definitely. Any last things you have to say on episode 10, by any chance, Anchorman?
I think I'm good.
Okay, all right. Well, moving on, because now we come to the follow-up episode of episode 10, which, being, yeah, Pursuit of Peace. And not to mention that, those 2 episodes actually take place before the 15th episode of Season 2, Senate Murders. Yeah, because most prominently in Pursuit of Peace, we see a character that we saw get killed in Season 2, Senator Farr, another good friend, senator friend of Padme's. Okay, but in Episode 11, description / the story, Senators Amidala and Organa are opposite to funding 5 million new clone troopers, but they and other like-minded dignitaries, find themselves targeted by thuggish bounty hunters set on changing their vote. Yeah. Now, once again, starting with you, Anchorman, first things you have to say about Episode 11?
This episode's more like a political episode.
Well, I mean, because on account of, with the centering on the senators once again, but anything you have to say about the episode itself?
I don't remember this one too much, but I think it's more centered on Padme.
Correct, because, again, the aftermath of what happened and the events of the 10th episode, and now up to here where, because what's happening now and the whole thing of, funding 5 million new clone troopers, and this episode centering on Padme and Organa being pretty good, and where Dooku, being aware of this, hiring 2 bounty hunters to handle the situation and try to assassinate Padme and Organa and all that. And those 2 bounty hunters, one of them whom we most prominently saw in the last episode of Season 1, working alongside with Bane. The fish-like alien with an eye patch, that D. Bradley Baker voices, Onaconda Farr. Because to see him once again, and being one of the main bounty hunters, also seeing the other bounty hunter, because, me, Deechai, I'm pretty sure that was him, because, voiced by Gideon and Mary, and the other characters that we see, because, there's, Haley Bertani, voiced by Jamila McMillian, Mon Mothma, Kath Suzy, Christo being voiced by Jason, the voice of Lux himself, Jason, and, also, because Tekla Manow, whom is voiced by Ashley Moynihan, if I got that right, whom is an aide of Padme's, and having a prominent part in this episode, and where, basically, her delivering this amazing speech that, does work out in the end, and for the Senate and all that, they applaud. That was a pretty good speech. And Mas Ahmed, Chancellor Palpatine's right-hand guy, whom, being voiced by Stephen Stanton. Because, this episode itself being good, and with what it has to offer, with what Padme and Organa deal with, and with the bounty hunters, and when Organa at one point was, wounded, and so was Padme just a little. It was really good, definitely, I think. And not to mention that, golly, because maybe most of you know this, where a clip of this episode on YouTube having a lot of views, being titled the best scene to come from Star Wars, where, it's the final scene with Chancellor Palpatine, talking with Mas Ahmad, because, we must let the wheels turn. That speech right there, and, of course, Ian Abercrombie at his best, always was at his best voicing Chancellor Palpatine. That was a pretty good scene, I won't deny that. Do you have any comment, by any chance, Anchorman, on the final scene where, because a little talk between Palpatine and Mas Ahmed, and that bit of speech that Palpatine delivers at the end of that episode?
Was it a good speech?
And like I said, if you've seen that clip, there's a clip of it on YouTube that has a lot of views, because and the title of the video just says it's the best, moment in Star Wars, just, because, to see Palpatine not in his Sidious getup is really cool, so That was a cool moment there. But yeah, just overall, the 11th episode. Yeah, that was another pretty good episode. With what that had to offer, and having another episode centering on the senators, and in the case of Padme and Bail Organa, yeah, Pursuit of Peace. That was good. Also, like, one more thing to mention on that episode where, because a chase is in pursuit, because, yeah, with Padme and the two bounty hunters. That was pretty cool. And also it's great that, you know, Padme having more in her where she's just not a senator. She can kick butt. And hey, we of course saw that in the episodes 1 and 2, of course. Yeah. Anyways, alright, so now with that episode out of the way, now... Okay, so basically there are, 4 arcs left in the season. So, yep, halfway there. So now we come to, the 4th arc of Season 3. And this is where we definitely get into some juicy territory. The whole arc of Asajj Ventress, Savage Opress, the Night Sisters, all the above. Yes. And those episodes, of course, being episodes 12, 13, and 14. Episode 12, Night Sisters. Episode 13, Monster. And episode 14, Witches of the Mist. Okay, so description / the story on Night Sisters. Darth Sidious orders Lord Tyrannus, aka Count Dooku, to eliminate Asajj Ventress, lest her becoming too powerful, but Ventress escapes and manages to make her way back to her home planet of Dathomir. I might be butchering that word, but yeah. Vowing revenge on Count Dooku, of course. Yeah. And description / the story of Monster. Count Dooku accepts Mother Talzin's offer to present him with a warrior from the same tribe as Darth Maul. However, Mother Talzin and Asajj Ventress pick and train the warrior and use Night Sister magic to bend him to their will. And the description / the story on Witches of the Mist. As Count Dooku trains Savage Opress in the ways of the dark side, Obi-Wan and Anakin travel to Dathomir to learn more about this Zabrak Jedi killer. Yeah. Anchorman, I don't suppose you know how the home planet of Ventress is specifically pronounced, do you? Dathomir! Thank you! Golly. I can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah, Dathomir. Okay. Alright, but yeah, by the way, starting with you once again, Anchorman, because what are the first things you have to say about this 4th arc in Season 3?
I really like this arc because we get Savage Opress, easily one of the best villains of the show. A yellow Darth Maul who's revealed to be his brother.
Yep.
And Clancy Brown does a really good job as Savage Opress.
Oh, of course. And where we see Ventress, her people, the Night Sisters, all that, we see this, and with what else you have to say about this arc?
I think the Night Sister stuff was really interesting. It was like they're meant to be different from the light side and the dark side.
Of course. Yeah, indeed. Alright, so now turning over to me, because, this arc itself, just really great. Because who'd have thought that, because where we see Asajj Ventress, and from Darth Sidious's vision, because how powerful she has become and could be a threat and all that, and when, he orders Dooku to just, eliminate her and just let her die, because we have a battle going on, and Ventress is leading it, but And, of course, Anakin and Obi-Wan that appear throughout most of this arc. And, this is the first time we see Obi-Wan's new look and design. Any comment from you, Anchorman? Because, what'd you think of Obi-Wan's new look for starting in this episode?
What'd you ask?
Again, Obi-Wan's new look, starting in this episode.
It looks like how he looks in Revenge of the Sith just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. And also, let's keep in mind that, yeah, because most prominently in the first 2 seasons and half of season 3, where they were wearing some armor, like on their shoulders and all that, yeah, and their arms. But slowly but surely up to here, with their new looking designs in season 3, a bit of that armor that they had on them slowly coming off. Yeah, it's like they have, like, say, gloves on and a bit of armor, like, yeah, just up to their arms, but just, like, yeah, it's kind of like, kind of like being stripped off and such, just like, yeah, and how, them doing a bit of their wardrobe, their robes and such, is, yeah, their Jedi clothing. But, yeah, so with, like, say, Anakin and Obi-Wan in pursuit with Ventress, but then leading to where, say, yeah, the ship, the Separatist ship that Ventress is on would, is being abandoned and it would blow up. Anakin Obi-Wan, they get out of there. And not to mention that in a deleted scene, Ahsoka was also supposed to be in there, along with another Nico Jedi. And that Nico Jedi in that deleted scene would have been killed. So, yeah. But ultimately, it just ended up being, say, just Obi-Wan and Anakin. And Ventress, managing to survive, she would be discovered by some junk dealers and all that, yeah, like in a junk ship. And when Ventress, like, telling them to take her to Dathomir, and where, one of them saying that ain't nothing there but witches and all that, yeah, and she would kill them and hijack their ship and, yeah, she'd make her way to Dathomir. And with her reuniting with her own kind, and especially her mother, yep, Mother Talzin, being voiced by Barbara Goodson, and with them, like, healing up Ventress, and where we see some flashbacks, Ventress's, younger days, and where, yeah, she was taken by a mentor of her own, but then when her master was killed, then she would be taken in by a Jedi Master, and would teach her the ways of the Force and being a Jedi and all. But at some point, yeah, her master getting killed, and then it would lead her to the path of the dark side and serving alongside with Dooku, and from there on. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that stuff. And yeah, and with Ventress, attempting to get revenge on Dooku, well, with the help of a few of her sisters, they would cloak themselves, and they would have this, like, needle that they can inject into Dooku where he cannot really sense their presence and all that. But he still manages to fight them, and without seeing them or anything like that. And even when they have lightsabers and they fight Dooku, and this is the first time we do see Dooku's residence, where he resides at. That's pretty cool. But just overall, yeah, Night Sisters, the first episode of this arc, it was great, yeah. And for Monster, because in this one, where Ventress would bring in one of the same alien species of Maul. Anchorman, I don't suppose, like, yeah, you know the name of Maul's species and who reside on Dathomir.
The Zabraks.
Now say it again.
The Zabraks.
The Zabraks?
Yeah.
Okay, the Zabraks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because, I think I might have asked you the same thing before, like but they're Maul's species being the Zabraks, that's right. Because, yeah, interesting to see that the Zabraks, they reside on Dathomir as well. And to see the Zabraks, to see the expansion of Maul's species, where he comes from, is really awesome. And if it wasn't obvious, I wonder, if it was obvious at that time, and when this arc happened, that maybe, just maybe, there would have been a chance we were going to see Maul. And probably so at that time, and sure enough, for those of us that assumed, we were right. Yeah. And where we would be introduced to, when it would be revealed that he is in fact the brother of Darth Maul, Savage Opress. And Clancy Brown, as you brought up most prominently, Anchorman. Yeah, because it's frickin' Clancy Brown. He's good in anything he's in, especially when it's come to voice acting. With what he brings to Savage Opress, outstanding. Yeah. And, because how Savage Oprah's, he's very short and a bit, skinny and all that, but once, Ventress finds the champion and would bring him in, and with the magic they use and all that, the witchery stuff, making him stronger, better than ever, and where, Mother Talzin would reach out to Dooku to bring him in a new assassin, which of course being Savage. And with Dooku teaching Savage the ways, and where, it wouldn't take too long for Savage to, cause mayhem and destroy other Jedi. And when word gets to the Jedi Temple, and even Obi-Wan, he thought it was Darth Maul at first, but no, a new competitor, which of course being Savage. And also, the other characters that appear, like Brother Vicious, being voiced by Stephen Stanton, and where, it is that character where Savage does end up killing, just, man, I tell ya. But for this being Savage Oprah's debut, it was excellent, And then, of course, The Witches of the Mist, the third and final episode in this arc, because, again, with Dooku training Savage, the ways of the dark side, and also where at one point he has Savage bring in the Tokurota character whom we saw early on in the third season, where Dooku wants him brought in alive, but Savage, he ended up killing him anyways. And Anakin and Obi-Wan appearing in this, and when they would come face to face with Savage, because again, when they first learned about a Savage, and it would be up to Anakin and Obi-Wan to pursue him, and just things would get out of hand with Dooku, and where he's disappointed in Savage, and where, because Savage was at one point supposed to assassinate Dooku, but things just getting out of hand, and where Savage not only turns against Dooku, but also Ventress, so, and just those lightsaber duels between Ventress, Savage, and Dooku were great, and when Anakin and Obi-Wan step in, that was great too. And also, the Toitarian King, Cantunuco, being voiced by Brian George. Because this would be the final time we see him, so, and he would meet an ugly demise. Also, Anakin and Obi-Wan, because they did pay a visit to Savage Oprah's people, because about Savage and all that, and there was a little fight, but they didn't want any trouble. They didn't want to start any trouble with them, but but turning back over to you, Anchorman, because what say you on Witches of the Mist?
I like the way that they train Savage to become the giant beast that he is, and then he kills those two Jedi, underrated Jedi guy.
That's right, because that moment where he kills the master and then the apprentice, that was great too. And just
I like the duel between him and Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yep, that's right. Just again, those lightsaber duels that happened in that episode, that was great. But just overall, the third and last episode of that arc with the Night Sisters, Savage, everything to come from Dathomir, that was brilliant. But also, we cannot forget to acknowledge that at the very end of that episode, Mother Talzin would put Savage in for a new task to locate his long-lost brother, Maul. And because our first tease of at some point we're going to see Maul in the Clone Wars, which we would, and it's pretty much towards the end of the last batch of episodes of season 4. And do you have any recollection, Anchorman? How did you first feel that our first tease of Maul, and sure enough we would see him eventually in the next season of Clone Wars?
It was great to see him in a little cameo.
Because in the glass ball, that Mother Talzin shows Savage, and giving him a necklace that will help him guide him to locate where Maul is, and with the light getting bright. So that was great. But yeah, just overall, Witches of the Mist, that was excellent. To round things off, for now, in the case of the Night Sisters and Savage. Yeah. Okay, now with that arc done, we now come to the third to last arc of Season 3 of the Clone Wars, which being, the world of Mortis and all that. Just, yeah, this arc. It was unlike anything, and with what Star Wars did, definitely. Taking the next step and something that, we had not seen before in the world of Star Wars, and the fact that, seeing, like, the whole thing of the Force, and just, it's amazing. Like, yeah, so, yep. Episode 15, Overlords. Episode 16, Altar of Mortis, and episode 17, Ghosts of Mortis. Okay, so description / the story, starting with, of course, Overlords. A mysterious force draws Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka to a distant planet to determine whether Anakin is truly the Chosen One. Episode 16, Altar of Mortis. Before the Jedi can leave Mortis, the son abducts Ahsoka and infects her with the dark side. While Anakin faces his Padawan, the daughter would reveal to Obi-Wan the only weapon that can defeat her brother is the Dagger of Mortis. And finally, the Ghost of Mortis. Yep, description / the story. The son shows Anakin a vision of the future to sway him to his side. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka must make sure the son does not leave alongside with Anakin, leaving Mortis aboard their Jedi shuttle. Yep. Okay, Anchorman, coming back to you once again. Yeah, the first things you have to say about the Mortis arc.
This is a good arc. I like how it's very different from the usual Star Wars stuff we see, where everything is super mystical, and we see the father, the son, and the daughter, and we see basically the light, the dark.
Yes.
And, yeah, we see Anakin's Chosen One be explored really well in this arc.
Absolutely. And ever since Qui-Gon believed that he was the Chosen One. Yep. Yeah, because while on a mission, because Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, they're supposed to meet with Rex, but with what they come face to face with, they would be pulled into this distant planet, and where, it's unlike anything they've seen before, and any Jedi has seen before, and where they would first meet with the daughter, whom is basically the light side of the Force, but at one point, they would be separated from one another, and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka would be separated from Anakin when there's a rock avalanche. So Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, they're by themselves, and they would come face to face with the son, whom basically represents the dark side of the Force. The daughter being voiced by Adrian Wilkinson, and the son being voiced by good old Sam Witwer. And of course, Sam Witwer being no stranger to anything Star Wars. Before this, he was previously Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games. And what would come next after being in those games and voicing the son, voicing Maul. Yep, but until we get to Season 4. So yeah. And also we would be introduced to the father, who basically is the balance of the Force. Yeah. And the father being voiced by Lloyd Sher. Yeah, I think I got that right. And whom Anakin would come face to face with once, Anakin gets to the main location to where the father resides. And Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, having been met by the son, and they would make their way to this cave to rest for the night. Then at one point, they would have visions, each three of them. Obi-Wan would see Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin would see his mother, Shmi, and Ahsoka would see her future self, her potential future, as she basically describes. Now, coming back to you, Anchorman, because what are the first things you have to say about the father, son, and the daughter of the Force, Mortis, etc.?
They always looked interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know who the mother is, but that's in the Legends timeline.
Oh, well, you can go ahead and say, whom is the mother?
It was a creature called Abeloth, the most I don't know, creepiest looking Star Wars character.
Oh,
It'd be in like one of the books, and they tried to tie into these episodes in those books.
interesting. I might have seen that before. Yeah, the mother, but yeah. Um, yeah, and also that sequence where each Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka they see visions of so on. So, like, what did you think of that? Also,
I like seeing Liam Neeson return to play Qui-Gon.
oh yes, because let's face it, there's only one Qui-Gon Jinn, and that's Liam Neeson.
Mm-hmm.
And what about, like, say, the return of Shmi, and it's the same actress who played Shmi.
I thought that was really good to see her again.
Yep, and also, like, seeing Ahsoka's potential future. What about that?
I remember seeing it in a magazine, and I was like wondering if that was just an older version of Ahsoka, and I was right.
You know, I might have seen that before, because I've talked about this before, like those magazines I used to collect, and you did too, because I don't recall if I got that one. If it's, yeah, obviously it's one of those, but I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I would know, but I don't think I did. But yeah, just that sequence alone with each of them, like the visions they see, and of course like Qui-Gon, because supposedly it is Qui-Gon himself, and with talking about Anakin and such, and pointing out to Obi-Wan at the end that this could be a very dangerous place for him to be. And yes, because, of course, I fully concur with Liam Neeson, once again, rightfully so, returning to voice Qui-Gon Jinn. It's amazing, because, yep, he rightfully so returned, but not only him, Pernilla August, who played Shmi in episodes 1 and 2 of Star Wars, to see her return as the voice of Shmi, that was great. And when Anakin sees Shmi, well, it's not really his mother, because it's really, say, you know, the son impersonating as Shmi, and just trying to, in his way as pretending to be Shmi, lure him to his side and all that. And with Ahsoka seeing her potential future, because, yeah, like, her potential future warning her that she may never see her future if she were to remain Anakin's student, and telling her to leave this planet. Yeah. And where Ahsoka would wake up after that and tell Obi-Wan that, feeling that Anakin might be in danger. And it wouldn't take too long for, say, the daughter and son to capture and bring in Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and basically the father testing Anakin, and with his potentials and all that, just like, yeah, that sequence too was pretty interesting. I don't suppose you have any comment, Anchorman, because the final moment in that episode, like, the task that the father puts Anakin in?
Doesn't Anakin almost become the dark side again, and then he has to save Ahsoka after being turned good?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, he has a choice to either save Obi-Wan or Ahsoka, but of course, yeah, he's not letting either one of them be the sacrifice, so just, like, yeah, an epic moment right there, for sure. And by the next episode, Altar of Mortis. Yeah, this was an interesting one, golly, because I, of course, recall, like, what it was like, and where, you know, just seeing a dark side version of Ahsoka, that was pretty interesting, because, yeah, well, with them trying to leave Mortis, the son trying to interfere with Anakin to join his side, and by taking in Ahsoka, just, yeah, and where, you know, the son pretending and disguising himself as a prisoner, and just, yeah, at one point would bite Ahsoka, golly, and where she turns into the dark side, golly, just like what was going on in that episode, and poor Ahsoka, oh my gosh, like, and what say you, Anchorman, on Altar of Mortis, just, yeah, overall?
It was crazy to see the dark side of Ahsoka.
It was. And apparently, fun fact, Ashley Eckstein, she stated that playing Darkseid Ahsoka was a lot of fun. I mean, I don't blame her, because, like, yeah, the way Darkseid Ahsoka interacts and with what she's given is pretty interesting. But yeah, because with Anakin having to make his way to retrieve and rescue Ahsoka, and with the daughter taking Obi-Wan to, yeah, to retrieve the Dagger of Mortis. Again, being the only weapon that could potentially take down / defeat her brother. So yeah, by using it, but also it could cut Ahsoka free because of taking down the brother. Even like say at one point the son, he did wound the father because the father was not satisfied with what his son was doing. Just like pushed him aside, just knocked him unconscious. So, again, with the daughter and Obi-Wan, like, retrieving the Dagger of Mortis, and while Anakin is dealing with dark side Ahsoka, and, well, Ahsoka making it very clear to Anakin, he asked me to give you a message. He said, if you don't join him, he will kill me. He's... Again, just the delivery of what we're given from dark side Ahsoka is so great, but disturbing, because this is Ahsoka we're talking about. For her to turn over to the dark side. And here's another thing I feel like mentioning, because I seem to recall around the time when, like, a trailer for what was left and stored of Season 3. Because at the very end of that trailer, we got a quick glimpse of dark side Ahsoka. And at that time, and when it came out, we didn't know what to expect. So, yeah. And the other last two remaining arcs, which was coming first and all that. Well, this arc coming first, so I think it was obvious that, Ahsoka was going to survive one way or the other, and which, of course, she does so. But that lightsaber duel between dark side Ahsoka, Anakin, then when Obi-Wan steps in, she ignites both her lightsabers, and because it's up to this arc where we get to see her in action with her having two lightsabers. Because she's still, of course, using the one that she's had before, but the other one that she has, there's a bit of yellow. It's like a mixture of yellow and green to it, which, it's really cool. And it's nice to see that, it depends. Any Jedi in the Jedi Temple, they could sometimes have more than just, say, one lightsaber. Maybe sometimes having a lightsaber that's the same one like what Maul has, bladed lightsaber, double-bladed and such. But, and also, coming back to you, Anchorman, because how did you feel about that at first? Because when we got to see Ahsoka wielding two lightsabers.
I thought it suited her really well.
It did for sure, absolutely. And by the point with her new look and design, definitely did. And anything you got to say, like the lightsaber duel between Ahsoka, dark side Ahsoka, and Anakin Obi-Wan?
It was good.
And the climactic moment where, because the father regained consciousness, there is a fight between the son and daughter, the father stopping this, and it would come to where the son is starting to take down his father, and the dagger, of course, there with Obi-Wan, and, well, Ahsoka, she snatched it from them, gives it to the son kills Ahsoka, but and then when the son attempts to kill his father with the dagger, the daughter interfering, and taking the blade, and she would ultimately get killed, and the son just feeling horrible that he just stabbed his own sister, and now with her dead, the balance being broken, the dark side consuming and all that, and it comes down to just now what? Because with her being stabbed, Ahsoka dead, lifeless, well, it would ultimately end with the sister giving the last breath in her to Ahsoka. So that's what would happen. And which, because of that, then, say, the Aomori, because being linked with Ahsoka and all that, which we would see in Rebels, and, those details. But, anything else left you have to say, Anchorman, and with what's left in this episode, and with what I said?
I forgot to mention we were supposed to get a scene of Darth Revan, but they deleted it.
Well, that apparently was supposed to, that was originally for a scene that was cut in the following episode.
Yeah.
But with what's left of Altar of Mortis, what say you?
I thought it was wild the way they brought back Ahsoka. It was interesting the way they did it.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, but with Ghosts of Mortis. Yeah, because to go ahead and acknowledge that, as you first brought up, because, yeah, apparently there was a scene that was removed, and, yeah, because where apparently the son spoke with Darth Raven. And do you have any recollection on who the other characters were that were supposed to be in that scene?
I think it was Darth Bane.
Darth Bane? Well, yeah. But although Darth Bane, because most prominently would be in Season 6, but of course we know the look and design of Darth Bane, but yeah. Darth Raven being in there, and a couple of others, and if you know them, just like, yeah. That would have been pretty interesting. But yeah, ultimately that just didn't come to be. I assume because of time and all that. And of course the usual running time of these Clone War episodes, it's understandable. But Ghosts of Mortis, like, yeah, the final installment of the Mortis arc, and where, yeah, when, in the events of the, Altar of Mortis, where Anakin and Obi-Wan were in pursuit of the son who had captured Ahsoka, well, it would ultimately end with them crashing their Jedi shuttlecraft, their ship and such, and it's up to here where it's up to Ahsoka to fix the ship, and thus they can get underway. But, you know, Anakin, he has some unfinished business, and he would go and where, yeah, because at one point he would meet with the son. But even before that, there was a really cool moment where he did reunite with Qui-Gon, and with how much Qui-Gon has to say to Anakin, and once more, Liam Neeson. And that moment where the son, he shows Anakin a vision of the future, where, yeah, the consequences and what would come to be in the events of Revenge of the Sith, and where he turned to the dark side. It's horrible. It's horrific for Anakin to see. And our quick taste of Darth Vader. Yeah. Even say, yeah, Alderaan being destroyed. A few lines that we would hear in Revenge of the Sith. You are my brother, Anakin! All that. That's amazing. Yeah, and what say you, Anchorman, because coming back to you, because what are the first things you have to say about Ghosts of Mortis, just all together and so on?
Seeing an early dark side Anakin was interesting. I was wondering, how is he going to turn back to the light, since he doesn't the Revenge of the Sith, but they found a way to do it in an interesting way.
Yep, the father did most prominently, that's for sure. And the vision that Anakin is shown by the son, the future, like, what'd you think of that at the first time?
I thought that was really good. Well done.
Yep, and our first taste of Vader, that was brilliant. Yeah. So, yeah, Anakin turning to the dark side, but little does he realize, in the son's way, even when the son assures Anakin that they'll bring peace, yeah, bullcrap. And even when Obi-Wan would catch up and locate Anakin and would discover that, yeah, Anakin has joined the son, he would alert Ahsoka, and Ahsoka manages to, like, deactivate the ship, and right as she just finished repairing it, and to prevent Anakin from taking off, and Ahsoka slipping away, yeah, she would catch up to Obi-Wan, and, well, Anakin would encounter the father that, you know, fixes him up. He wipes out every memory that happened where, yeah, he saw the future, he turned to the dark side, just, yeah. And Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, they would meet with them, but it doesn't end there because, well, the son has unfinished business confronting Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and also the dagger was taken because, yeah, the grave of the daughter and the dagger, just all that, just, yeah. So ultimately what would happen is the father would kill himself, and the son just being upset, then Anakin, killing the son, just, yep, and the world of Mortis just crumbling, and not to mention that Anakin was considered to take the father's place, but of course he refused. But what remains in this episode and all that, and Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, they're back where they started, where they were supposed to meet with Rex. Yeah. Wow, just Ghosts of Mortis, that was great. To round off that arc. Amazing, definitely. And any last words you have to say about the arc itself and with Ghosts of Mortis, Anchorman?
It was the way it ended on it almost feels like it could have been all just been a dream, but it's up for interpretation.
Nope, and it's obvious it was never a dream. That's the thing. Yep. And of course, like, yeah, because this would not be the last time that, yeah, we would have anything that has to do with Mortez and with the father, son, and daughter, because when it would come to, say, rebels, oh yeah, because especially up to, say, Season 3, yeah, like Season 3, because with Season 4, I should say, yeah, because the World Between Worlds, just overall, World Between Worlds, oh yes, you know, good on you. Alright, so yeah, overall, the third to last arc of Season 3 of the Clone Wars with Mortez, yeah, Overlords, Altar of Mortis, and Ghosts of Mortis, that was excellent. Alright, and now we come to the second to last arc. I'm blanking on the name. Like, do you remember the specific name of this arc? The second to last arc of Season 3, by any chance, Anchorman?
Is it the Citadel arc?
Yeah, okay, there you go. Because, yeah, the Citadel arc, yeah. So, yep, 3 episodes in this arc. Yep, episode 18, the Citadel. Episode 19, Counterattack. And episode 20, Citadel Rescue. So, description / the story on, yeah, episode 18, the Citadel. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and some of their best troopers allow themselves to be frozen in carbonite in an attempt to break into the Separatist prison known as the Citadel to rescue Master Even Paul. Episode 19, Counterattack. Description / the story. The Jedi and their troops have split up to safeguard the vital information, but find that getting out of the Citadel is even harder than getting in. And finally, episode 20, Citadel Rescue. Description / the story. Plo Koon, Masters Plo Koon and Saesee Tiin, head a desperate rescue operation to get the survivors of the Citadel infiltration mission and the information they carry. Yeah. So, all right. Starting with you once again, Anchorman. What are the first things you have to say about the Citadel arc itself?
It's a good arc. I like when we get some Evan Peel moments for him in this show.
Oh yes.
I like how they go to the planet that just looks like a giant lava mining planet.
Yep, and a bit different looking, of course, than, say, how Mustafar looks. So, another lava planet. This arc itself was great, and especially because, like, the fact that this one Jedi character who we most prominently saw in the background and in the Jedi Council, in the Phantom Menace, and the fact that he was completely absent in episodes 2 and 3, well, now we would see in Clone Wars that, yeah, he was still present, like, when the Clone Wars happened. Jedi Master Evan Pell, because where, he's the one character that kind of looks like the same species of Yoda, but he's not, and he has a scar over his eye because he lost one eye, and Yvonne Pell being voiced by Blair Bess. Yeah. Well, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Rex, and a batch of the clone troopers, especially the ARC troopers, Fives and Echo, they are put on a mission to go to Citadel to rescue Yvonne Pell, but not just him, because there would be a couple of other characters that would be held prisoner besides him. And Ahsoka, she thought that maybe she would be joining in the mission as well, but no, because Anakin did not want her to come on this mission, and it just got a bit heated between him and Ahsoka. However, with Plo Koon, actually, turns out that he would be linked with this, and secretly, Ahsoka did tag along with them, because, yeah, in order for them to get into Citadel, well, they'd have to be frozen in carbonite. And not only that, but they have their own battle droids that were reprogrammed. That was really cool, seeing some reprogrammed battle droids doing good and serving with the Republic. So with them, and they've stolen a Separatist shuttle. So yeah, with bringing in the Carbonite, the Carbonite statues of Anakin and the troop, yep, they would manage to successfully make their way into Citadel. And the main antagonist of this episode, which actually being voiced by Obi-Wan himself, James Arnold Taylor, O.C. Sobek, yeah, whom basically, according to James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Sobek is a combination of Al Pacino and Christopher Walken. Because I most probably remember him saying that when one of the Star Wars Weekends events happened at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and around the time of when Season 3 happened, and when Arnold Taylor was talking about him playing that bad guy character. So yeah, anything you have to say, Anchorman, about the main antagonist of the Citadel arc? Yeah, O.C. Sobek.
He was a good bad guy. He looked evil for sure.
Indeed.
And the way he gets killed was wild. He gets stabbed by Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. Yep, in the third and last episode of this, and also, what did you think of, like, say, seeing Carbonite in this, and battle droids being reprogrammed? Like, yeah, let's say on that.
I like the battle droids of R2. I thought they were a good duo.
And
the
with seeing...
Carbonite was interesting, because we've never really seen it other than Empire Strikes Back.
Indeed, yeah, that's for sure. And yeah, so in the majority of the episode with them sneaking in, but of course eventually they would be discovered, and with them managing to make their way through, taking on some of the battle droids, and, getting away from the traps and all that, and where Sobek tries to hold them hostage, and ultimately when, like, say, they would free Evan Pell, and whom else is being held hostage? Captain Tarkin. Yes. Not just Evan Pell, who makes his debut in the Clone Wars, but Tarkin as well. Young Tarkin, whom in the events of this episode, of this arc, he's a captain. Yep. And Tarkin being voiced by Stephen Stanton. And Stephen Stanton, yeah, this being one of the first times that he voices Tarkin, while doing a spot-on job voicing Tarkin, and of course, yeah, having to sound almost exactly like, say, Peter Cushing. And yeah, of course, Tarkin looking like obviously, and in the style of Clone Wars, a younger version of Peter Cushing. Yeah, and of course, with them escaping, and yeah, it was really great. A great way to start off this second to last arc. Yeah. Anything you've got to say on the character of Evan Pell and when we first see him, and of course, what are the first things you have to say about Tarkin, his debut in this?
I wasn't expecting Tarkin to be in this show, but when we do, we see he's even slimier. How he is in New Hope.
I mean, because, yeah, that's the character of Tarkin for you, so that's a part of his character. Also, like, Evan Pell, like, the accent that was given for him, that was cool, too. And yeah, just to see Evan Pell really expand, and to see him in action, and his colored lightsaber, yeah, being green, that was really great. But then, like, say, in the next episode, yeah, and apparently, because, at the time when, the Citadel episode came out, apparently the 19th episode and the second episode in the Citadel arc, I remember, of course, when seeing those trailers and promos, like, on an all-new episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars, at that time, we had to wait 2 weeks for Counterattack to come out, but yeah, once it did, just like, yeah, because they're still on the run, and where, yeah, because the more they have to deal with, and where they do separate, because Anakin and Ahsoka, they're with Tarkin, and Evan Pell is with, like, say, Obi-Wan, and with how many clone troopers they got with them, and of course Rex being there. Especially also, like, the moments between Ahsoka and Tarkin, and yeah, because Ahsoka not liking Tarkin whatsoever, like, yeah, and as what you said, Anchorman, just, yeah, not being very pleasant and such, and not really good at getting along with, basically. The more fights we get, and even say when when at that time we thought we lost a good character, which of course being Echo, one of the ARC troopers and serving alongside with Fives. Yeah. But what say you, Anchorman, on the 19th episode and in the Citadel arc? Yeah, counterattack.
I wondered if Echo survived, but of course he did.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Indeed. Because, like I said, when we thought at that time he was gone, and because he basically sacrificed himself, and when they were in the middle of the battle droids and all that, but yeah, making a sacrifice, and which allowed everybody to proceed on retreating. Yeah, but turns out that he managed to survive, and the Separatists, they kept him hostage and would use him, and where we would see him in the events of season 7. So yeah, but it's just overall counterattack, the 19th episode of season 3, that was great. And then Citadel Rescue, because with how far they've come, and they're still being pursued by Sobek and his troops, and those dog-like creatures that are unleashed to go after them. I'll put the name of them in a text just in case. Yeah, right there. Well, yeah, because by this point Ahsoka is with Evan Pell, Obi-Wan, Anakin, they're with Tarkin and such. Rex being in there, Rex being with Rex and Cody are both there too. Yeah, being with them, and the more fights that we get, and also the crab-like droids that we also get is and unfortunately, should have seen it coming. Evan Pell meets his sad demise, being killed by one of those dog-like creatures. Again, the name was in the text, and Evan Pell dying in Ahsoka's arms. That was sad, of course, to see him get killed. But that explains, and because he's totally absent, most prominently in Revenge of the Sith. So, and what say you, Anchorman? Because the first things you have to say about the final episode in the Citadel arc, Citadel Rescue, and everything I've talked about so far. Yeah, what say you?
It was good. Master Peel's death was sad for sure, and people who are fans of the EU were mad because apparently he was in one of the books that took place after Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
I guess they decided to retcon it.
And if anything, that's in Legends. So
yeah, honestly, we could just say Clone Wars is separate from the Legends timeline. That's how I view it.
Well, obviously, to comment on that, there are some bits and pieces of Clone Wars that made their way into comic books, whatever, that, I'm sure most of them, they are a part of Legends and not considered officially canon. But of course, everything to come from the Clone Wars show itself is a part of the official Star Wars canon, and rightfully so. And in the case of what happens to Evan Pell, so but the funeral service for Evan Pell was good, and but they would of course continue on, and where they're up to, because Sobek's showing up, and the last fights we get, and up to when, because Master Plo Koon, and also Master Cecitine have arrived, and a couple of Republic cruisers have shown up, fighting the battle droids and all up in orbit of Citadel, and it was a really cool space battle, and with what's going on in Citadel, and with the battle droids and Sobek, and like you brought up early on, Anchorman, because where Sobek is at his last peak, and where he's going to take matters in his own hands. He grabs Tarkin, and Ahsoka, she's the one that stabs and kills Sobek. Oh, that was awesome. Good for Ahsoka to kill a big major bad guy in one of these arcs. And actually, there were a few deleted scenes, alternate takes on how Sobek was killed. Even say one of them where he was killed by his own droids, because he failed and such. And if you've seen those deleted scenes, But ultimately, they would be rescued, and safely returning to Coruscant. And with them acknowledging the loss of Evan Pell, and... even say where Anakin finds out that, Plo Koon did sign Ahsoka to this mission. And one last moment we get with, say, Tarkin. He shakes hands with Anakin, and we hear a little bit of the Imperial March. Yeah, because knowing that they're going to be working together very later on in Star Wars, as we know. And okay, any last words you have to say of this episode and so on, Anchorman?
It was good.
Okay. All right, but yeah, so the second to last arc of Season 3, that was great. Yep, Citadel. Episodes 18, 19, and 20. Yep, the Citadel counterattack and Citadel rescue were excellent. All right, guys. Now we come to the last 2 remaining episodes of Clone Wars and the last arc of Season 3 that center on Ahsoka. Episodes 21 and 22, Padawan Lost and the Wookiee Hunt. So, description / the story on Padawan Lost. Ahsoka is captured by a Trandoshan during a battle on Fluisha. The reptilian aims to hunt her down for sport together with his skin. And, yeah, description / the story of Wookiee Hunt. The Jedi younglings, led by Ahsoka, free a Wookiee prisoner from transport. Together, they form a plan to attack the Trandoshan base ship. Yeah. So, once again, starting with you, Anchorman, what are the first things you have to say about the last arc of Season 3, the last 2 remaining episodes, yeah, Padawan Lost and Wookiee Hunt?
I like these 2 episodes, which shows how Ahsoka learns how to survive in the wild with other Jedi, and it shows how deadly it is when one of them dies, and then when they meet Chewie, that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, yep, for me, because, like, yeah, of course with Padawan Lost, because, yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan and Plo Koon's there also, kind of, yeah, because, they're all fighting some of the battle droids and those that are on Fluisha. And, well, at one point, Ahsoka and a couple of clone troopers, they would make their way to another part and with the Separatists. And, well, little do they realize, especially Ahsoka, that a Trandoshan is lurking by. And, yeah, once the clone troopers are out of sight, Ahsoka's the only one there. Yep, the Trandoshan open fires on Ahsoka, tasing her and capturing her, just like that. I can't believe my luck! I've captured a Jedi! And so by capturing her, nobody realizes what's happened to her, but yeah, once of course they discover that, yeah, Ahsoka is not seen, they would try to look for her, and when they would realize that, yeah, she's probably gotten captured, and Anakin, of course, being very worried about his Padawan, and just not wanting to give up on her. And with Ahsoka making her way to the planet where the Trandoshans reside, and then at one point, like, say, the ship would crash, and then she would meet with other survivors. Yep, we would have Khalifa being voiced by Gwendolyn Yeo, Jinx voiced by Sunli Malhorta, and there's also the other characters like Garnak, voiced by Zach Hanks, Omer, voiced by Cam Clark, Dar being voiced by Kevin Toms, and so some of these new characters that we see, and those that are also Force users, they're really cool. And what say you, Anchorman? Because yeah, the Jedi younglings and who meet up with Ahsoka.
They were cool looking. Cam Clark, I mainly know him as Leonardo in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I do too. But I also know him, he has at times voiced Simba in anything Lion King. But he's done a lot more than that, than say that in Ninja Turtles. But anything else you've got to say about the younglings?
One of them, when one of them gets shot, that was definitely brutal to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And while you mention it, because I think I recall that even Doug Walker, when he was watching Clone Wars, he found it shocking when Khalifa dies. Because I'm pretty sure I knew he was talking about that death, so yeah. Because yeah, I mean, technically, Khalifa is technically the leader of those two other younglings. But yeah, because Jenks and Omer, because yeah, they're the only two that survive. And anything to say on the lizards themselves?
They look super cool.
Yeah, especially one of them, the leader, kind of almost like having, say, a mohawk. His skin color being a bit white grayish, but he has like almost like a red mohawk or something. Because like with what, of course, like what he has on his head, that's a nice detail there. I like that. But like yeah, and Padawan lost, because they're just trying to escape from the lizards, and even when say Ahsoka even told them at one point that they have to act, but Khalifa is just not sure. But yeah, and with Ahsoka taking matters in her own hand to confront one of the lizards and all that. And just things getting more intense and out of hand. And when, at one point, because when they really are in pursuit by the lizards, because it would lead to one of the lizards getting killed. Because the one lizard that Zach Hanks voices, the leader of those lizards, Garnak, turns out that one lizard that was accidentally killed by Ahsoka and Khalifa, that was Garnak's son. And Garnak shooting Khalifa and him just saying, "Those Jedi twerps killed my son." Now he means business, and he'll stop at nothing to skin them and have them be prized trophies in his collection and all. But yeah, that was a dark way to end off that episode, where Khalifa dies and Ahsoka has to proceed on, and now she's in charge to help Jenks and Omer. Yeah, but in Wookiee Hunt, because with where we last left off and what happens next, it just comes down to 3. Well, at some point there's another ship that crashes, and one survivor, is all right. And turns out that one survivor that they would cross paths with and they would team up with, it being a Wookiee, and that, of course, being Chewbacca. I myself, of course, remember when it was announced that Chewbacca was going to appear in Clone Wars. And in the behind the scenes, I most prominently remember the behind the scenes where, because Dave Filoni, because he directed the last 2 episodes of Season 3, because he felt it in him that, with him saying that, man, I gotta direct both of these. With how much these last 2 episodes center on Ahsoka, and of course Ahsoka being Dave's baby, and according to Dave, because when it came to those last 2 episodes, it was George Lucas himself that requested for Chewbacca to be in there, with him saying that I would like Chewbacca in this. And, in response, Dave was like, okay, you're gonna get Chewbacca. And yeah, man, they did a hell of a good job when they brought Chewbacca to life. They brought in Peter Mayhew to help out with them to know exactly how to bring Chewbacca to life. His mannerisms, and the way he would walk, and all that. And yeah, because Peter Mayhew, God bless him, because even in the credits, this is so sweet and amazing, rightfully so. At the very bottom of the cast credits, there's a little note that says, thanking Peter Mayhew, because, the heart and soul of Chewbacca, all that's amazing. And yeah, just like, of course, when it came to designing Chewbacca, having him look exactly like how he would in, say, most prominently in A New Hope, because how his hairstyle was and just all that, yeah. Also, because, the fact that as of now, because Chewbacca appearing in this, but the next time in canon that he would be seen, of course, would be, of course, saying Solo. And, because the belt he has around him, because no big deal, I guess, because, try to figure out the math to that is, but, yeah, just Chewbacca appearing in this was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and it worked out great. And yet, anything else you've got to say, Anchorman? Because, yeah, with Chewbacca's appearance, and if, of course, you have any recollection, like, the first time, how you reacted to seeing Chewbacca be in Clone Wars?
It was cool to see Chewie finally show up in this show. It's nice to see him, what he did before he met Han Solo.
Indeed. Yeah.
I even have a magazine cover that has Ahsoka with Chewie.
I had that magazine. It was one of those. Yep.
Yeah, it's a classic one.
Indeed. Because, yeah, you got Chewbacca and Ahsoka posing together. That's just great. Yeah. But yeah, and with what else goes on in this episode, well, Chewbacca believes that, there can be a way to contact his fellow Wookiees. Some bits and pieces from, the wreckage of the ship that's on the beach, and in order to send a signal to the Wookiees, which eventually it does work. And at first they would encounter a couple of the Trandoshan lizards. Of course, they would take them down, and by putting that transmission device together, and ultimately when it does work, managing to get a signal from those Wookiees, and it wouldn't take too long for the Wookiees to arrive. However, because Ahsoka, Jinx, and Omer, and Chewie, they would take it upon themselves to infiltrate the main base of the lizards, and another fight would pursue, and ultimately because the Wookiees would arrive, and they're led by Tar-4, and whom we most prominently saw Tar-4 in Revenge of the Sith. Yep, because with those braids he has. Also, the one bounty hunter that helps General Tar-4 and the Wookiees make their way there is bounty hunter Sugi. Yeah, and Sugi once again being voiced by Anna Graves. And Sugi telling General Tar-4, make it quick, General, and if my ship gets damaged, it'll cost you extra. I'm sure the Wookiees, they've got plenty on them, so yeah. But that fight sequence, and when the Wookiees step in, and a confrontation between Garnak and Ahsoka, fantastic. And, you're beaten. You killed my son, and you're going to pay. And Ahsoka making it very clear to Garnak that Garnak's son died because of his actions, not hers, but he, of course, doesn't give a shit, so why would he? Yeah. And ultimately, Ahsoka would kill him by using the Force on him, pushing him off the balcony, and he would fall to his death. Yeah. By the way, inside that base, because where they reside, the trophies that we would see that they have collected, because there would be some Wampa and Wookiee skins, like a Wampa over Garnak's throne, his chair, and again, Wookiee skins that we would see, some Jedi braids, Zillaby scale that is basically rugs, and a Mandalorian knight helmet, and a bunch of others that we see, and oddly enough, according to Dave Filoni, and if you blink for a second, you might miss it, the Crystal Skull from Indiana Jones is in there too. Anchorman, I don't suppose you spotted the Crystal Skull maybe the first time you watched this?
I saw it, and I knew I recognized it.
Nice. How could you not? Because, the big blue glowing, crystal from Indiana Jones, it's so obvious. And, of course, there have been plenty of other times that there have been some Indiana Jones references and Easter eggs at times in Clone Wars. Yeah, and more to come after this season, until we get there. But then ultimately, say at the end, towards the end of this episode, Ahsoka and Anakin, they're happily reunited, and same for Plo Koon, because let's keep in mind the big connection between Plo Koon and Ahsoka. And Plo Koon just, it was good to see you, safe and sound, and Anakin just feeling guilty that he should have tried harder to rescue her, but Ahsoka, she assures her master that he did everything he could, and she managed to do it on her own, and she pulled it off, and and it's thanks to her master, because without his training and what she has learned from him, then there probably wouldn't have been a chance that she wouldn't have survived alone. Yeah. And with how far Ahsoka has come by this point, it definitely shows. Really improving as a Padawan learner and all that, just indeed. And and the last lines we get from Ahsoka and Anakin, "Thank you, Master. You're welcome, my Padawan." And then just walking off, and Yoda, seeing them walk off, and he has a smile, because he's glad to see how far they've come, especially for Ahsoka. That's great to see. And let's keep in mind that technically it was Yoda's doing for, placing Anakin as Ahsoka's master. It's thanks to him. Yeah, and any other things you have to say about the Wookiee hunt episode, Anchorman?
A lot of people like to say Ahsoka doesn't go through anything in the show. I believe that's not true because these two episodes show that Ahsoka had to survive on her own without her master or her lightsabers.
That's true, yeah, because her lightsabers, they were taken away from her also. But with the help of the of the younglings that were also captured, and with the addition of Chewbacca, yes. But yeah, anything else you've got to say, or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Yep. And yep, that's it. Those being the last two episodes of Season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Yep. Episodes 21 and 22, Padawan Lost and The Wookiee Hunt. This arc that centers on Ahsoka, the lizards, the hunt, and all that, and with the addition of Chewbacca. That was great. Yeah, the last two remaining episodes, they did not disappoint, and especially with how far Ahsoka has come by this point, and it's great, definitely. And I feel like mentioning this, I'm sure maybe you might remember this, Anchorman, I don't know, but it depends, but man, I remember because, when Wookiee Hunt came to an end, the end credits started, yep, we got our first sneak peek of what to expect so far in Season 4, and it was coming later this year, coming this fall. Yeah, that was really exciting. But yeah, until we talk about Season 4. But yeah, Season 3 of The Clone Wars. It was a great season where things were really looking good, and this season cooked up a lot of great episodes, great arcs, how far these characters have come, especially Ahsoka, and of course Rex, Cad Bane, all the others, prominent to the Clone Wars. All the various episodes and the arcs were great, and solo episodes, and yeah, this Season 3 being the last season where it's kind of out of order, because some of these episodes, being prequels or follow-ups to some episodes from the first two seasons. Yeah. Each of these arcs from, the ARC Troopers, the Witches of Dathomir, the Mortis world, Citadel, Ahsoka getting captured, yeah, and the episodes just as themselves, just need I go on. Everything that came from Season 3 was brilliant, came really advanced, and with where the show was by this point, it was just great. With the new character design, the storylines, the action, the suspense, and things that we had not seen before in the world of Star Wars, but up to Season 3, yeah, it was great. Yeah, overall, Season 3 of The Clone Wars was well done. A fantastic season, and for it being the third season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. All right, Anchorman, now we turn over to you. Your final thoughts and words on Season 3 of Clone Wars.
It was a really great season overall. The show was getting much more darker and more mature for sure, and a lot of great arcs that would set up the good stuff for the rest of the show.
Indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what would come next the following season and the one after. Yeah, and when we get there, of course. But you got anything else to say, or you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Making sure. All right. Yep, our final thoughts and words of Season 3 done, out of the way, and yeah, how many stars we give Season 3? Well, start with you, Anchorman. How many stars would you give Season 3?
I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, yeah, and the same would go for me. Yep, for both me and Anchorman, we give Season 3 of The Clone Wars, 8 out of 10 stars. Both me and him, 8 out of 10 stars for Season 3 of Star Wars, The Clone Wars. And what about you guys? What did you think of the third season of Star Wars The Clone Wars itself? Which of these episodes were your favorites, your favorite arcs? And of course, for any of you, like me and Anchorman, you remember when Season 3 was airing and you didn't know what to expect at first and you were just amazed and you had a great time watching Season 3, just and you were excited for what was going to come next and all that, Your fondest memories when you watched season 3, all that, and some surprises here and there that came along in season 3. Yeah, need I go on? Just like, yeah, again, overall, and also if season 3 is one of your top favorite seasons of the Clone Wars. But yeah, as I was about to say, again, overall, what do you think of season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars itself, with what all me and Anchorman, we both have had to say about the 3rd season, our review collab? And yeah, what did you think of our review of season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed our review of Season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and we will see you guys in the next video / review. And once again, Anchorman, it was great to have you for this, and yep, of course, for us to continue reviewing the rest of Clone Wars. Just, yeah, as always, it was great to have you for this.
Thank you.
Anytime, my bro. Anytime. And, yeah, any last / final words from you? You know, say goodbye and all?
Yeah.
Okay, he says that. For me, again, we thank you very much for watching. Take care. And until we continue with reviewing the rest of Clone Wars, of course, what's coming next is Season 4, and with what Season 4 has in store, well, you guys know. Just, yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Yep, take care, peace out, and may the Force be with you.
Always.